So I have a formula for making a top-selling game all alone in 2025 with absolutely no budget at all. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm gonna share it with y'all here today. The first part of this equation is actually something that you probably already learned. Probably day one in your microeconomics class in undergraduate. That concept is supply and demand. If you are serious about making money in this industry, if you're serious about making games for a living, you have to make a game that people want to play. It makes sense, right? But we don't do it. 50% of game development is just making a game that people want to play. Just looking at the market, evaluating where the holes are, and making something for it. It's also art, so it's difficult. Okay, so here are what I believe to be the best markets for the PC. Open world survival craft, 4X, colony sim, management, grand strategy, and base building. The PC market, like they love these kind of games. You'll look at that list and you'll see a lot of similarities. They love these games. They're the deep games that they can grind over and over and over. They have these systems that they can kind of just play with and tinker with. It's unlimited content. That's what the PC is looking for. Deep games with layers that they can play with over and over and over. I was gonna say this for later in the video, but I'm gonna say it now. Some of the best games made by indie developers are not even like story-driven, that kind of thing, not narrative-based. It's the games where they give the player Lego blocks and they say, hey, just go have fun. I made this little sandbox for you. Go play with it with these parts that I've given you. Okay, those games do so well. It's also nice for indie developers because you don't have to script out every single second of the story, right? You make the Lego blocks, you make them work together, and then you hand it off to the player. Say, hey, go make your own fun. Go make your own story. Okay, so supply and demand is an enormous part of the equation. It's huge, it can't be understated. It draws their attention in when something otherwise might not have. How do we get the player to actually click buy, spend their hard-earned bucks on your game? I'm gonna tell you right now. When somebody is looking for games, they are not reading any of the text. They're not scrolling to the about, they're not reading here or there, like that's not what catches their eye. They'll look through the pictures, skip through the trailer, like every 10 seconds they'll just click through, and they essentially have three things that they're trying to figure out. Is it high quality? Is it fun? And are there layers? Now think about the contrast from a game that looks like this to a game that looks like this. They could have literally the exact same gameplay loop and progression and whatever buzzwords you want to throw in there, but they will seem like a completely different game with completely different levels of quality. Your visuals have to be high quality, consistent, and compelling. Video games are kind of weird because we buy them with our eyes, but we don't really play them with our eyes, if that makes sense. We play them with our head. But when we're flipping through the store page, we can't play it unless you have a demo. We'll talk about that. So we have to look at it. So we have to compel buyers to be like, oh yeah, this game is high quality, it's these things. Let me give it a shot. And please, 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 if you want any chance of success, stay away from asset flips, stay away from like most popular Unity. I'm gonna show some pictures on the scene, or on the screen. You'll see them, stay away from them. People know that these assets are used in asset flips. If you don't know what an asset flip is, it's basically just like a cheaply money grab game, basically. That's what we're avoiding. Money grab games do not make money, okay? It sounds like it would, but it does not. Buyers will just associate these graphics with ripoffs. That's the last thing you want for your game. Okay, let me show you what a great store page looks like. And this is for an upcoming game that I think is gonna do really well. So Doom, The Dark Ages, I absolutely love this store page, okay? It's perfect for Doom. I mean, look at these 5 pictures, right? It's demon, gun, demon, gun, demon, gun, demon, gun, demon, gun. And that's the formula, right? And Bethesda knows that that's the formula for Doom. It's gun, demon. I would choose those words to sum up the whole game series, gun, demon. But think about what it would be for your game if you had 2 words to sum it up and include those, or try to include as many of those as possible in your store page. Great, so we tackled the presentation for your big game, but there's still like a lot missing from what goes into making a success. I know right now what you're probably thinking is like, all right, you've talked about what genre to make, you've talked about how to properly sell it, But what about the actual game? Like, what are the players doing day to day? And that's perhaps the most important part. What do your players do in your game, and is it satisfying? There's gonna be something that the player is gonna be doing 90% of the time, and you should find it and you should polish the absolute hell out of it. So I'm gonna bring up Doom again. You guys can probably tell I love it, but we're gonna talk about it because they do a great job at this. Think about what you're gonna be doing 90% of the time in Doom. Gun, demon, shooting stuff, running around, just eviscerating things, right? Think about how satisfying that is to perform. Think about the colors, think about the punch of the mechanics. How do they get that feeling to make it, seem as though you're really fighting through these hordes? Another great example of this that I love, Rocket League. All right, I've been playing a lot of Rocket League recently. The point I want to make from this is that a child could pick up Rocket League. And sometimes it does look like children are picking up Rocket League, at least in gold, But there's a progression, right? There's a floor where you can play, and there's a really high ceiling that you can achieve that players can always be working through. The main, mechanic of your game is what you should be polishing a lot of the time. It should be perfect, crisp, everything, every buzzword, it should be. Now, I could make an entire video going over game mechanics, how to make them feel good, what makes them feel good, and my favorite game mechanics, and I will. That's why I said that, actually, because I will. But I'm not gonna make you wait. I'll give you my number one tip. This is a video about how to create success as an indie game developer, after all. And that success, that tip, is to add weight to the mechanic, okay? The best example of weight I can give is swinging around in the Spider-Man games. I don't know if y'all ever played those, but it is legitimately so fun to just swing around. And Sony knows this. Like, they probably worked so much on this mechanic. I'm gonna show you a clip right now. Take a look at it. Like, it actually feels like you're swinging right behind him, right? Like, look at the camera drop. Right when the camera drops, it just feels perfect. Think about how your mechanic adds impact to the world and just go crazy. Just add the effects, add all the cause and effects relationships. It makes it more fun, okay? There was a great video done on YouTube about how to ×2 the fun of your game, and that was a major part of that video. It talked about just make as many cause and effect relationships as you can. Immerse the player in the world. That adds weight. Okay, time out. We're gonna circle back. What have we learned thus far? First, genre. If you pick the right kind of game, it sells itself or helps to sell itself. Of course, that's all for naught unless you have compelling visuals and things on the store page to pull them in, keep them there, keep them interested. Combine that with the main mechanic that's satisfying to perform, that's punchy, that's impactful, and you legitimately might have a really good game on your hand that could sell a lot of copies. No surprise, there's a lot more that goes into it than just these three things. I'm gonna keep talking. And there's more content that I could ever cover in just one video. So what I did, here's the pitch coming right now, you ready? I made a Discord where you can hop in there, ask questions. It can be game design, game theory, game mechanics. It can be technical questions even. It's a place for you to get help from other developers. Just pick each other's brains, listen. And a link to that is gonna be in the description, so check that out. Okay, back to the formula. So we have this next piece, which is gonna be interest. And interest actually has 3 different components that kind of flow into it, I guess you could say. This is honestly, this interest is what separates a good game from a great game as far as success goes on a marketplace. The first is that your store page has to be active and it has to be popping. This thing has to be up early and look good early. In my opinion, I would rather have it up as early as possible with it looking less good than waiting a while for the visuals to catch up. If you can, legitimately, get it up today. As soon as you know what your game is gonna be about, you should be working on your store page to try and get it up on Steam. It's just like a billboard. Listen, it's just like a billboard. By getting it up, by showing it's high quality, you're telling people about it. It's gonna be in the back of their minds, regardless of if they know it or not. This makes me sad, but don't expect to surprise drop a game and have it be a success. That's just, unfortunately, that's not really how the market works. There might be a story here or there, but there's a reason why it's a story here or there and not the main way of doing things, all right? Generate those wish lists. Keep your store page up for as long as possible. Make it high quality. There is a formula to this, guys, and it's gonna make your life so much easier if you follow it. So please follow it. Next component of the interest variable is your capsule image. I know I said you could do all of this with no budget, and that's true, you can. But if you were gonna spend money on one thing, it would 100% and should 100% be the capsule image. Get a professional artist to make this thing for you. It is the most important part of the interest variable, which is a massive part of the whole formula. So I guess the way that I like to think about these kind of things Think about your game and your buyers as going through a funnel. So your capsule image is the top part of the funnel. You want it to be as big as possible because the more they learn about your game, it might kind of siphon off and you'll lose people. That happens. That's every product, right? But with selling games in particular, the capsule, you want it to make your filter as big as possible at the top. So get a great filter, get a great capsule, literally just showcase exactly what your game does. A popular example of this is crafting games. You go look at crafting games, so many of them have a hammer in their capsule. It just signals to our monkey brains like, oh, I use a hammer, I must craft things in this game. I know it's random, go look at the genre you're making, look at their capsules, just literally, almost copy them. Like copy parts and pull from them, figure out what's gonna work for your game, just mesh them together, make it high quality, make it eye-popping, eye-catching, and it'll do great. I know it will. But please, consider getting something paid for it. Capsule images are a huge way that buyers sort from high quality to low quality. I'm done with the capsule image talk. Until next video, I promise. Just my advice. Okay, final part of the interest component is getting a demo. I do not see enough demos on Steam, guys. I do not. Particularly, you'll see Steam events, and you should have a demo for every single Steam event that you're entered in, okay? If people see your game and they think it's interesting, they might wishlist it, but if they play the demo and they love it, they're 100% gonna wishlist it. So get a demo, make it good, polish it, but keep them wanting more. Create a little bit of curiosity as far as oh, what else could they do down the line? And maybe you even blatantly say hey, we're adding this, this, and this in the full version, wishlist us so that when it drops, you'll be there for it. Make a demo, guys, and enter into those events with the demo. Good demo too. Bad demo? Okay, let's look at the formula, shall we? So demand plus compelling visuals and a polished mechanic times interest equals the amount of success that you're gonna have on Steam. So I have some other things I'm gonna share that's gonna save you a lot of time in game development and honestly a lot of money in game development. Before we do these things, I wanna do a short little message that I think is often left out when people make these game development videos. And you already know this, actually. Game development is just really difficult. You are combining so many different disciplines. It's just a difficult thing to do. It's technical, it's artistic in every single way imaginable. It doesn't get enough credit for how difficult it is. It just doesn't. And it takes a lot of practice, a lot of effort, a lot of dedication to create a good product that you can be proud of. And the hard part is even when you do all of those things, there's no guarantee of success. This is again why I made this channel. It makes me sad to see these games that could have been so amazing that were just a few pieces away from being huge hits on Steam, changing the lives of the developers. So close, right? So close. So I want to be able to help you guys take that next step, make the leap from a good game to a great game to an amazing game. I believe that anybody can make a name for themselves in the video game industry, but you have to be able to put your head down, do the research, and get to work. I can do some of the research, and I'm very willing to. This stuff is so interesting to me. So I'm gonna do it for you, but you have to be able to keep your head down and just get to work. I'm here as a resource for you guys. So is my community in the Discord. If you have questions, comments, concerns, legitimately just say them. I'm here to help in the Discord or anywhere. So again, as solo developers, our time is very precious, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say how many hours I've wasted making mechanics in my games that didn't even show up in the final release. They didn't even show up. So sit down today, make a list of every single mechanic that's gonna be in your game, and just do not deviate from the list, okay? Do not deviate. Think of literally everything that you will need in this game in order to successfully launch it, and do the list, top from bottom, before you start going crazy on scope creep and oh, I wonder if I added AI to the NPCs, or I wonder if I added different kind of physics, stick to the list, just hit it hard, finish it, then after you can say, maybe I should add that or maybe I shouldn't. Otherwise, you're gonna waste just so much time. It's unbelievable. It's what stops people from finishing games. And we as game developers, we don't get paid for making the game, we get paid for releasing the game. We get paid when people buy the game, right? So stop spending so much time, stop wasting so much time on making these mechanics that aren't even gonna be there at the end. It's pointless. When you sit down at your desk, work on only the things that are on the list until you've completed all of it. That's all I'm gonna say. I know it's kind of lame to say that, but it really is in your best interest as a developer, as a person, everything. just please. And don't fall victim to constantly expanding the scope of your project. Like, keep it small, keep it simple. I promise you, whatever you think you're gonna make and how long you think you're gonna make it, just multiply that by 2, because it is gonna take forever to get this thing out the door, I promise. I feel like I have to include this point because I feel like I would feel bad if I didn't. If you're starting to have negative feelings toward your project, like, don't. Because of this video, like, don't. Game development's an art, and there are loose rules of art. I think that the greatest artists in the world and throughout history know these rules, and they also know where to bend them and tweak them and, you know, move this here and there. Like, it's okay to break the rules, you just have to be very specific about how you do it. So if your game breaks from the formula, like, that's completely fine, just be strategic about how it does so. So there's actually a really great quote from Mark Twain that I think goes into this point perfectly, and it says that continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. I think this gets game developers all the time. Like, they're trying to perfect everything in their game before they move on. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. Just continually improve, continually move your project down the line. Cross off that list, right? Just cross off the list one by one by one. If you're feeling stuck or lost in your game, like, don't fret, it's not the end of the world. Or if you can't finish a game, which is a lot of developers' problem, again, don't worry about it. We're here for you. Join the community down below, ask questions, get feedback, keep learning from other people as well. The easiest thing you can learn from is other people's mistakes, not your own, because your own are gonna take you 10 times longer than just reading it on the Discord or taking advice or doing research for yourself. Okay, so that is pretty much the end of my first video ever here on Designing Better Games. Let me know how I did. Let me know what you thought about the video. If you'd be interested in seeing more of the videos that I kind of teased a little bit throughout this one, just let me know down in the comments below. And please join the Discord community. Like, I promise you it'll help you learning from other people's mistakes. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys in the next one.